Premier League predictions, round 30.
Right, everybody, welcome back to Very Biased Opinions. Ian and Tom here again, and finally we have a full round of Premier League fixtures. I know you all may have forgotten what the Premier League is, but it's back and it's at its best. We have a full slate of fixtures. They look so good. If you just care about... Yes, Ian?
Haven't we already done this video? Why are you making me do it again?
We did the bonus round, Ian. You check up in the top corner, you'll see it.
We've done week 30.
We tried, and then the league ended due to some, I don't know, weird disease or something. Anyway, enough of you. You're distracting me. Thank you to everyone who's liked, subscribed, who's followed us during lockdown, who's still following us now. We really love doing these videos, and we love having you here. If you just care about one team or one match, you want the score, please check below. Everything is timestamped. Without further gilding the lily, Ian, what is our first match of the day?
It's the Merseyside derby, Thomas. It's Everton versus Liverpool.
Right, Ian, I am worried about the first game back for Everton because they've got to play Liverpool, and no one wants to play Liverpool at any point in the season, specifically not when they've had 2.5 months to rest, recuperate, get fit, and get Mo Salah, Roberto Firmino, and Sadio Mane's legs back to full strength. Everton have had a really up and down season. Obviously now they have Carlo Ancelotti as their manager, which is huge. I don't think he was the manager when they lost 5-2 to Liverpool, which must have led most Everton fans to throwing themselves into the river. This is going to be a really tough match for them, and one I actually don't see ending well. I just don't trust them to be able to hold out this fully fit team. And then Liverpool, I don't think they have any injury issues to worry about. So I'm going to go Everton 0, Liverpool 3 in this.
Whoa, absolute blowout. So Liverpool win the title at Goodison Park. That's what you're going for.
Yeah.
Whew, well, it's hard not to see a Liverpool win, although I do think Everton will put up a fight. There's enough homegrown talent in that side, like your likes of Calvert-Lewin, like your likes of Leighton Baines, that will not want Liverpool parading that trophy around Goodison Park. Will they be able to stop them, though? It's difficult to see. You talked about the front players for Liverpool, but at the back, they're so imperious as well. With Alisson in goal, probably the best defender in the world, Virgil van Dijk. You've also got Gomez, Robertson, Alexander-Arnold. The list goes on, really, isn't it? It's hard not to see Henderson lifting that trophy aloft at the end of the game. I do think Everton will get a goal. I think it'll be tighter than what you said. I think I'm going to go for 2-1 Liverpool win.
I can't believe you think they're going to score a goal.
You hate Everton, don't you? You mentioned zero.
They are.
Players.
How do I forget to do this? They are the second biggest dumpster fire in the league. The only team worse than them is Arsenal. These guys have no idea what they're doing. It's a waste of time. They're a waste of time.
Hey, Yerry Mina had one good game, and that was against England in the World Cup. And he's dined out on that.
Oh, Man United are going to sign him. No, they're not. We are. Okay, cool.
Keep dining out, Yerry. Keep dining out on that one game.
Watford hosting Leicester City.
Obviously, these games, as we know, unless you've been living in a cave, as I like to say, are going to be played behind closed doors. And that is, I think, going to affect some teams more than others. I think it's really going to affect a side like Watford, who do rely a lot on that kind of tight, cauldron-like atmosphere at Vicarage Road. Really spurs the side on. And Leicester have been excellent this season. A lot of people, like ourselves at the start, we probably predicted them that they might get in a Europa League spot or just outside, but they've been way better than that. Brendan Rodgers done a fantastic job. They seem absolutely nailed on to get a Champions League space for next season. Led, as always, by Kasper Schmeichel in goal and Jamie Vardy up top. They are just a bundle of energy in most of the games they play. Arguably their best players out for the season in Pereira, but going forward, you've still got the likes of Vardy, who is going to be over his injuries and probably back to form. I think he got back to form in the final game before the lockdown. You've also got Harvey Barnes, Maddison, Ndidi. All these guys have been excellent this season, and it's hard not to see Leicester winning. I think it's going to be a 2-0 Leicester win.
Yeah, it's hard really to look past Leicester, and you've got problems at Watford right now. Troy Deeney, I don't know if he's training yet. It doesn't sound like he's training. He said because of the problems, he doesn't want to come in as he's more effective than others. Adrian Mariappa's already had it. I think Watford have had the second most cases next to Brighton, who were followed quickly by Bournemouth. Weird. And this Watford side have been kind of a soap opera all season. They brought in Nigel Pearson, who gave them a bit of solidity, pulled them away, but they're tied on points. They're only staying up right now on goal difference, and they're too back and forth, and this Leicester City side really needed the break, and they've had it now, and they get their legs back under them. They can get back. They've got 8 matches to secure their Champions League football, and I think they might just do it. And Watford they're the collateral damage in that. I've got Leicester City winning 2-1.
West Ham United versus Wolverhampton Wanderers.
It is back. Nuno Espirito and his band of merry men are back to win the Premier League. No, they're not. Sorry. But they are back to entertain. This club is 6th in the league. They've been fantastic. Portugal United, flying high, led by their Mexican striker, Jimenez. Maybe I shouldn't call them Portugal United.
There's a few others. Connor Cody.
Oh, God. Ireland. Rui Patricio at the back obviously has been fantastic, but in general, Wolves have just been such a breath of fresh air to the league. Nuno Espirito is so positive and happy. He's so honest as well. He's one of those managers that when they lose, he doesn't kind of mind game it. He'll blame his players. He'll blame himself. He kind of just tells you what happened and what they really needed from it. I've really enjoyed Wolves this season. They're probably one of my favorite teams to watch. From what I know, they don't have any big injury problems right now. There's no group of players out. And I think this is a great match for them to come back to because West Ham have been diabolical. In fact, I keep calling Everton a dumpster fire, but when am I going to get it through my head that West Ham are also a dumpster fire? Of course, an empty stadium for them is probably an improvement, but still, I'll leave that to you. Wolves won the previous match 2-0, and I hate to say it, but I'm going to go 2-0 again here.
Stole my thunder a bit there because, I was going to say these is probably a side that's going to benefit from an empty stadium instead of having all those angry West Ham fans playing in front of a stadium where they don't even want to be. It's West Ham are way too low from what they should be. They got far too much of a good squad for them to be in this position. They got rid of the vampire earlier on in the season, and then they replaced him with David Moyes. And as we know about David Moyes, Thomas, what do we know from your experience of him managing Man United? What do we know about this man?
All he does is win.
You know it. They'll be hoping that they have got their attacking players back. They did have some injuries to some key players, but they do also have a lot of these players that like to show up on occasions and then go missing for 3 or 4 games, like Felipe Anderson, like Yarmolenko, like Sebastian Haller. They'll be hoping for all 3 of those guys are back in form and back in the goals. They're always going to get consistency from Mark Noble. They're also going to get consistency from Mikel Antonio. And make no mistake about it, they're in a dogfight and they need points pretty quickly. This isn't going to be one I think they're going to get anything from, though. I see Wolves winning this one. I see it being a 3-1 Wolves win. Thomas, we've been safe and we've been relaxed for far too long, but watch out! The Eagles are coming.
Because it's AFC Bournemouth versus Crystal Palace.
Oh, it's so good to talk about Roy Hodgson's free-flowing, attacking band of men. They're so much like the Freiburg side that we've come to know and love in the Bundesliga. There's nothing they like more than a 0-0 draw or a 1-0 win, and they are the masters of it. But in all seriousness, I mean, he does a good job, doesn't he? He's very, very solid. They're not spectacular in any way, shape or form, but they just get the job done. They staying in the league always just seems to be what Palace are about, and by hook or by crook, they do it. I mean, it's every single time a transfer window comes around, they seem to hold on to Zaha, and he seems to be the difference between them staying up and not staying up. They need goal scorers. Benteke's not been able to score goals for them for a while. They bought Czech Tosin in, and he basically got injured straight away, so they didn't get anything out of him. So they rely a lot on penalties, which Luka Mihojevic sticks away with regularity. And they also rely on spectacular goals from Townsend and Zaha to just steal the show. At the back, they do have Sacco back, which is a big deal for them. And I know we bag on them a lot, but they are on course for their highest ever, or to equal their highest ever finish, which is 10th place, which is a great achievement. I think they'll win this one. I think they'll win this one 1-0. You're going to look a lot to Bournemouth for saying they're back and their players are back. But I do wonder if these Bournemouth players have got the stomach for a dogfight, or whether they just too attuned to playing in this Eddie Howe fancy-free way that's worked for them so well. So I'm going Palace 1-0.
Ian, how dare you speak about my spirit animal, Eddie Howe, in such a derisory manner? There is no way it will be the same result as last time when they played. I'm saying it now. This Bournemouth team concede, but they also can score. I've got Bournemouth winning this one 3-1. Harry Wilson's loan has been extended through the end of the year. What is it? Is David Brooks back now? Have I read that correctly? Lloyd Kelly is back. Not since Steve Cook got injured on like the first day of the season has their season looked as good as it might be. Lloyd Kelly had ankle and thigh injuries. He's coming back. Really, the biggest problem they still have is that Charlie Daniels looks like he's probably out for the rest of the season following the knee surgery he had. They haven't had the greatest break with Jordan Ibe going and getting his haircut and then posting tons of pictures about it and putting like hashtag breaking the rules and changing the game. Well done, Jordan. Good luck getting a game now.
Hey, he's gone up in my book.
I think that they might finally do it. They might finally have had this break, be able to sit down, work out the kinks, and finally kind of sort themselves out, because this team, the football they play is too good to go down. They're in 18th right now, but like we talked about, there's a gaggle of teams down there, and I got to back Eddie. He's my spirit animal. 3-1 Bournemouth.
Pride of Manchester, Manchester City versus Burnley.
It's time to talk about the gravel man himself, Sean Dyche, he that created cement, concrete, and built a wall. This Burnley side are 10th in the league right now. They're doing really, really well. It's like last season's poor form was an aberration. Nick Pope has been truly fantastic at the back for them. I think Ashley Barnes might be back. I know he had a hernia operation, but he's got to be aware as well that Chris Wood and Jay Rodriguez have actually been really good this season. Phil Bardsley, somehow at 34 years old, still seems to be doing really well. He's out of contract at the end of the month, but I think they're hoping for an extension. Joe Hart's on his way out, and I think most football clubs are happy about that when he leaves. Aaron Lennon's probably going as well. But Jeff Hendricks had a really good year, and he's probably going to stay. This has been a really fun Burnley to watch. They're a bit like their old selves, except feels like there's more goals when they play.
Yeah.
I probably do the research on that, but it really does feel like they're scoring more and they're conceding a little bit more, but they're fun to watch. They've had a good season. They are unfortunately coming up against an imperious Man City side who won 4-1. Were it not for Liverpool's total dominance, all we'd be talking about is the City team. I think we talked about that last week. And as such, as much as I like Burnley, I can't see them winning this. And I think City might be better defensively for these final 8 or 9 matches. So I'm going to go City 3, Burnley 0.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about City in the bonus round. I mean, you can click on the links to that video in the top corner. So obviously the biggest thing is they're coming off like only a short turnaround, like 2 or 3 days from the time they played before. So there will be some tiredness. There might be some players that get rested. You know the cast of characters for Man City. The big thing is obviously, for their point of view, Laporte coming back is massive in defence for them because, as we know, he is one of the greatest centre-backs in the world. And he's joined by the 2 great hopes of English football, Tom, John Stones, and then in midfield, Phil Foden, as people that are going to lead us to European and World Cup glory in the future. Yeah, as it's hard not to see City winning this one, as you said. I mean, you're quite right what you say about Burnley, and it's people like Hendricks that add a different dimension to Burnley. He's a very un-Burnley-like player. And maybe that's kind of Dyche branching out a little bit from how he's been in the past. City are going to be extremely drilled. They're not going to want to lose any games. They've already lost far too many games for Guardiola's liking this season. Yet they're going to be focusing on the Champions League. But it's all about league. And the Champions League's probably going to come back once the league finishes. And I think City will win. I think Burnley will score, though. I'm going 3-1 Man City.
Aston Villa versus Chelsea.
Villa are another side that played in midweek, so it's going to be about how tired they are for this one. You can look in the top corner or go back to the previous video to see what we said about how they'd get on against Sheffield United. They have got players back, and they've got some key players back as well, as you talked about. I mean, Trezeguet, they've got Wesley, John McGinn. They need to shore it up on the back. They've been so poor defensively, and that is somewhere where you think Chelsea can exploit, because generally they've been a side that's good going forward and pretty poor at the back themselves. So you can see this one being quite a high-scoring game. Villa need points, and I just don't see them getting any in this one. They're going to need to look for future matches. I see Chelsea winning this one 4-2.
I can't agree with you more that this Villa side will score goals and they will ship a ton. Equally, this Chelsea side will score goals and they'll ship a ton. Frank Lampard's had a really good first year as a manager as far as I'm concerned. If you told fans at the beginning of the season they wouldn't be able to sign anyone for a year and they'd be top 4 with 8 games left, they'd have bitten your hand off. It's great news for a club that has finally stopped acting like the big spenders in the league and is finally acting like a normal football club. They've also had really good news. A player I did not think would be as key for them, Matteo Kovacic is back from injury. He had a minor knock, but he's been really good for them this season. He's kind of added some real steel to that team and a bit of a winner's attitude, which I suppose when you played for Real Madrid, you would come over with. Christian Pulisic, who was on fire at one point in the season, is back. Captain America. He's back from his abductor problem that's kept him out since the 1st of January. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is now fit. Hudson-Odoi is fit. And
so many players I forgot about. I'm sorry, really. I literally. You asked me to name Chelsea's best player, and I literally forgot all of these. You got Kante and Jorginho as well.
But Loftus-Cheek and Hudson-Odoi both are fit. Hudson-Odoi has shaken off an allegation that was pretty unsavory, but that seems to have gone from his life now. One real question mark, though, for this Chelsea side is, will N'Golo Kante want him? Rightfully so, he hasn't come back because of coronavirus. That is 100% being supported by the club and a lot of footballers in his situation. But for wanting to watch football, I'd love to see Kante back on the field. Kante having not kicked a ball for 2 months, I'm still convinced he's fitter than every other player out there. The man is just a machine. Giroud and Willy Caballero signed 1-year contract extensions, but there's currently a bit of a fear that Willian and Pedro could just leave on free contracts in June. Something has happened between Willian and this club. He's been a key player for them for years. He's been an unsung hero, but they've had really weird contract negotiations with him, and Chelsea fans are a bit kind of wishy-washy on him, which just seems mad considering the time he's put in for this club and how much good play he's had. And he still reminds me of Ronaldinho in his prime. He smiles all the time. He goes on these mazy runs. So hopefully he stays to the end of the year. Obviously, we all know Timo Werner's moving there at the end of the season, but they won't get him now. I've really enjoyed Chelsea this season. I've really enjoyed Frank Lampard this season. I've got Chelsea to win as well, 4-2.
Newcastle United versus Sheffield United.
This week, I get to talk about Sheffield United. Last week, you had them. This week, I have them. And the only additional news we have for last week is that Chris Wilder is an absolute boss. Some things we didn't mention this last week was that 4 of the back 5 have played every match together this season, and John Egan has missed literally 1. The club is so solid. It's built on such good foundations. They've managed to get Dean Henderson to stay past the 30th of June, which was in question at one point. The only question is how much energy do they have when they come back? And with a Chris Wilder team, you assume that they're going to have tons of it. I'm sorry, Sheffield United fans. I really like your team, but there's just not a lot left to say that we didn't say last week and that we haven't said all season. You guys are great. You're fun to watch. And I think you're going to overturn what was a heinous 2-0 loss against Newcastle when you played earlier in the season. I've got you winning this one 2-0.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest farcical VAR moments of the season that Newcastle got in that one. But finally, I get to talk about the greatest manager on planet Earth, or any planet, anywhere in the universe, and that is Steve Bruce. I didn't even say his name properly. And that is Steve Bruce. Before I talk about Bruce, I just want to quickly highlight a video that I've got secret footage of Chris Wilder celebrating Oxford's win over York in the playoffs 2010. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to Bruce. What a side he's amassed at Newcastle United. You find me a harder side to beat in world football and I'll call you a liar. Led by a fantastic goalkeeper in Martin Dubravka, 3 pacey attacking players ripping sides apart. Do you need the ball to win football matches? No, you do not. They're rewriting the rule book, folks. You've heard that football manual of how to play. Throw it away. Steve Bruce is writing a new one. They are going to win this game hands down. He's going to prove once and for all that he is the second coming of Kevin Keegan.
I will love it if we beat them.
Saudi takeover. Is it happening? Isn't it happening? It doesn't matter. This guy doesn't need any improvements to this squad. It's already amazing. It's Newcastle to win 2-0 again.
Brighton, Hove, and Albion against Arsenal.
I thought I'd give all you Arsenal fans a little bit of respite from Thomas slating your side week on week. This is an Arsenal side that have improved a lot under Mikel Arteta. He's done a great job. This will be more of a test for him next season, what he does with an Arsenal side, because as I've said many times, there's a lot of dead wood they need to scrape away and start again. It's great that they've started bringing in some younger players. That's really useful as well. Is Aubameyang going to be there next season? He hasn't signed a contract yet. I don't know. Part of me I'll be really surprised if he's there. I think he wants to win medals. He's over 30 now, and he wants to play Champions League and he wants to win trophies. And unfortunately, Arsenal just aren't in that position at the moment. But they are looking a lot more solid in games. It'd be interesting to see how Arsenal go against a side like Brighton. You would expect them to turn up and be really good against them, but it's very hard to predict what they're going to do as well. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think Arsenal are going to win 2-1.
Pinning all your hopes on Aubameyang, the man has literally never been loyal. So many clubs get lucky. They get players that are willing, like Ronaldo, to sign a new contract and stay on a little bit longer so the club can get a transfer fee out of him. But you can't see Aubameyang doing that. He's always said he wanted to go to Madrid. Madrid have never wanted to pony up the money to sign him. As a free transfer, a striker at a club that's having problems scoring goals, like, he's the perfect foil. And it sucks for Arsenal fans. You're not the worst. It's just your club.
For that, I don't know. I mean, they could put a lot of focus on Martinelli next season. They've still got Lacazette. It's not necessarily the end of the world if they get rid of Aubameyang.
Brighton are coming into this basically back to full strength, except for Jose Izquierdo. I think he's actually still in Colombia recovering from his injury. That's how bad it is. 19-year-old Tariq Lamptey, the £3 million signing from Chelsea, is likely to make his debut as the games come thick and fast. Alexis McAllister provided a spark off the bench back against Wolves earlier, and he could be really useful to this team. Brighton have been really vocal during the off period. They didn't want neutral venues, then they didn't want football, then they didn't want relegation. It's made them very hard to like, and I kind of got to side with that. They also seem to have a really hard problem up front deciding who to play. They played Maupay a bunch, but he just seems to shoot from anywhere, which has edged him towards double-digit goals. But whatever good play forward, Potter seems to have gotten out of the club, seems to get wasted by him time and time again. He looks like a striker who can hold the ball up, and then he just turns and fires it, and you're like, well, you got to play it back to your midfield. A really interesting player in the second half could quite possibly be Aaron Connolly. He's 20 years old, Republic of Ireland striker. He scored twice in his debut and hasn't scored since, but then he had a really bad injury, I think to his ankle, and he's coming back in. Obviously, Glenn Murray, the great white hope of English football. Give him another cap. Wait, does he have a cap? Give him a cap. Can lead the line really well. And I can never, ever, 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 ever in a billion years ever support this Arsenal team. So they will lose by the same scoreline they lost last time. 2-1 to Brighton.
Norwich City versus Southampton.
Norwich are going down. There's no reason to in any way think that they aren't going down. But Farke seems optimistic, and probably one of the reasons he sounds optimistic.
Come on, give these fans hope, Thomas.
Well, that's what I'm saying. One of the reasons he's got a bit of hope is that the squad is basically whole now. He's basically had to patch and mend at centre-back for most of the season. He's now got Tim Klose, Christopher Zimmerman, Grant Hanley, and Godfrey. They're all fit. And Klose has been out all season, and he looks sharp, apparently, in an inter-club friendly on Tuesday, and I think he even scored a goal. Timo Pukki, their star striker, scored a bunch of goals at the beginning of the season. He had a toe injury right at the end, but he'd gone 11 starts and only 2 goals leading up to the break, so he really needed this. As we've seen in Germany, a lot of these players come in a bit cold, and once they get scoring, like Weghorst, it's 4 goals in 2 matches. The odds of this team getting in a group are going to be really aided if Hertha Berlin agree to extend the loan period of Ondrej Duda. He's a really good creative midfielder they have. Pukki's pretty much their most important player. He's got 11 goals this season. I think the next closest is something like 6. He basically needs to get to 20 if this team is going to pull out the world's greatest escape. And this really would be a fantastic escape. They are rooted to the bottom of the table right now. I'm going for a Southampton win. And I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm going to support King Ralph, and I'm going to support him in a 1-0 victory over this Norwich side.
Everybody that looks at them, and they pay them like these backhanded compliments, like saying they're the best relegated side or the best side that's ever been bottom of the Premier League or something like that. And they do play really good football. They're just extremely naive and shoot themselves in the foot in games, and that's been a huge problem all season. Coming up against the Southampton side, I mean, you look back through our videos, one thing we always talk about is how Ralph Hasenhüttl looked like a dead duck, didn't he, after that 9-0 defeat to Leicester? And you would have never thought he'd stay in the job after that. But not only has he stayed in the job, he's done a really good job. And it's a side that has been transformed and improved a lot, which is something you don't often see in football, is people sticking by their managers. Led, of course, by the goals that Danny Ings has scored. I think he's up there, isn't he? One of the league's top goal scorers. And for a Southampton player to do that shows you how important he's been for them, which is really good considering how it never worked out for him at Liverpool. We had a terrible time with injuries, and it's good to see him go back to Southampton and do a good job. Nathan Redmond's had a good season, and they've got him back, and he's been an important player for them. Ward-Prowse, I think he's one of their standout players. I always like him. I wonder how long they're going to be able to keep a player like him along for. Probably the only rift in the squad is Højbjerg, the captain. There's like debates about whether he wants to re-sign. Personally, I don't think it's going to be a massive loss. I think he's replaceable. Hasenhüttl's already kind of said, well, if you don't, you're going to be stripped of the captaincy. And I don't think that's really going to be too much of a big issue for Southampton in that one. I'm actually going to put this one down for a draw. I think that we haven't had any draws yet for me, so it's going to be my one and only draw, and it's going to be 1-1. Wonderful to have the Premier League back. All these sides have been a joy to talk about, but really, they all pale into insignificance compared to the main event.
Tottenham Hotspur host Manchester United.
I'm going to talk about Spurs, but I cannot lead off. We're going to hand it over to resident expert and Manchester United fan, Thomas Pickering, to talk about the Red Devils.
I keep talking about what a shit show Arsenal is and how, teams are up and down, but there has been no team that have dragged its fans up and down a hill as much as Man United. 1 minute they're the best, the next minute they're the worst. 1 minute they're sacking the manager, the next minute they're not. 1 minute De Gea is leaving, the next minute he's saying it has been the most exhausting season. And as a Man United supporter, I think the best thing that could have happened was this break. It allowed you to look back at the season and take stock of it. I didn't like Solskjaer, was not enjoying him as manager, and the more I look at what's happening at the club, the more I think, obviously, the minute they lose a game, I'm going to ask for him to be sacked and go totally nuts. But he's done a really good job, and the team is clearly looking up. They're pretty clearly signed their best player at Christmas in Bruno Fernandes. He's been freaking awesome. He's been pulling the strings. He's been what they're missing. He's a tough player as well. He will foul the other team. He will go down under a little bit of pressure to win them the ball back. He will play through balls, and he will tackle when needed. He is what Paul Pogba is supposed to be, and he's actually it. It's been awesome to have him. But there's been a huge change at the club, and that's been to play three at the back. Lindelof at the center of a three is really effective alongside Harry Maguire, and all of a sudden Luke Shaw is a center back, and he looks like the player we thought he was. When he plays on the left side of a back three, he can get forward, but also his job is to defend so he doesn't find himself up the left side of the pitch the entire time and totally out of position. But Aaron Wan-Bissaka, £50 million right back, has been freaking brilliant. Everyone thinks he's had a good year. He's adding more and more to his game as an attacker. We knew he could defend, but he's adding more and more of that kind of right wing back role. Paul Pogba, don't know where you've been, don't care. Please don't come back. We don't need you. Bruno Fernandes has been immense. Jesse Lingard, you can go as well. No one cares. You've done nothing this year except complain. Really makes me sad that Juan Mata doesn't get in the squad as much as he should. But Fred has been awesome as well. A lot of players have had just a total rebirth under Solskjaer, and it's been fun to watch. Up front, Rashford has actually had quite a good year. He does go missing sometimes. You just want him to put the ball in the back of the net, and he seems unwilling to do it at times. But he and Martial seem to finally be getting this sort of thing worked out, where if Rashford plays slightly in front and Martial plays slightly off to the left, they have a really good thing. Martial could be Thierry Henry. He's really smooth. He's technically gifted. He can score from anywhere. He just gets kind of in his own head and finds himself off on the weird side of the pitch, or takes a shot, doesn't score it, and then decides he can't score. He has to shoot constantly. I think United are going to put down a statement here, and that's because I'm a crazy United fan. But I got him to win here 3-1.
Sum up Man United in 10,000 words or less. He can't do it, folks. He can't do it. Spurs fans, we'll get to more detail about your club in future weeks, but Spurs are on their way to the Tottenham Hotspur football stadium. Jose's going to do it again. No one's going to stop them. The boys from Tottenham, the boys from not White Hart Lane, the Tottenham Hotspur football stadium. That's right, Thomas. I think Jose's going to do a job on his old club here. I don't know if you know, but he used to manage Man United, and they unceremoniously kicked him out for no reason whatsoever. But Tottenham, you've had a break, you've had a rest, you haven't been great this season, you got battered by RB Leipzig in the Champions League, but I'm going to take you back to bad blood Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, Hell in a Cell. All of a sudden, the lights go red. Who's that coming out to the organ music? That's gotta be Kane! That's gotta be Kane! And he's back, folks. He's back in the goals. He's going to score against this Man United side, along with heinous leg breaker Son Heung-min, who I'm rest assured has come off the back of his military service, and I can assure you he was top of his class in that military service. They are going to rip Man United apart. It is going to be a bloodbath, and I think it's going to be 1-0 to Tottenham.
Now that I've talked for 3.5 hours about Man United and you wax lyrical about Spurs, all that's left to do is to thank everybody for liking, thank everybody for subscribing. Just a quick shout out to everybody that commented on the Premier League bonus video. So a thanks to Lee Taylor. You're right. If Arsenal didn't have Aubameyang bailing them out, they would be getting relegated. Thank you to Darren Warburton for your comments on who would win the games. You're right. It will be City and it will be Sheffield United.
No.
Robert Allen. No one knows what the Premier League is. Good question. No, thank you for your comment. Alexander Allen, go away. Stop commenting our videos. Thank you, Shane O'Donnell, Will Smallman, Chris Smith. Thank you very much. Sam Harrington. Yeah, we are going to do League One predictions. Don't worry, mate. Roberto Hollis. It is back, baby. It's back with a bang, although you predicted Villa to win, and that's madness. Thank you, Robert Mills. Thank you, Marky Mercury. Thank you, RB Beck. My God, seriously, so many comments. I can't literally respond.
I love it. It's fucking awesome.
Taylor, Danny Struggles. It's nuts. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. Please keep liking, subscribing, and on behalf of me and Ian, much love and stay safe.